What is going on, everybody? Very excited for this one. This is the first time, I believe it's second time that we've had a woman come on to kind of talk about some of these different topics. I know it's men of now, and a lot of times we may fall into an echo chamber, and we don't want to have an echo chamber. We want men and women to come together. So I want to introduce Irena here from Love and Fulfilled. How are you?
Hi. Thank you so much for having me here. I loved what you said about the togetherness, men and women together. That's exactly why I am here, and that's exactly why I'm excited to be here. So thanks for awesome introduction.
Love it. Love it. And then we've got Joel as well. How are you doing, Joel?
Good as always. How are you guys?
Doing good. Doing good. I'm excited for this conversation. I know, Irena, I shared with you that I'm a dating coach myself. So I know some of the stuff that's going on, some of the struggles that men are having. But before we even dive into some of the stuff, I want to hear from you. Like, how did you even end up doing this? Like, what is the story of Irena?
I have quite an extensive story. Actually, I just wrote the whole book that's going to be published in about a month. But a short summary of it is essentially I came out of my childhood with complete lack of relationship skills to truly connect to another human being, to say the least, to a man. And I had quite a toxic mindset that was instilled into me by my mom, who unfortunately had undergone a lot of abuse from her father. So she has dragged all that stuff throughout her life, and she kind of just gave it to me unintentionally. So it took me quite some years and 2 marriages followed by divorces to truly realize that, wait a second, I'm the common denominator in all of this. So something's not working. I need to make changes. So some years ago, it's been like 10 years now, I decided to finally make changes in starting with myself. Like, what is it about myself that I keep repeating the same pattern? So as I started digging into it and healing and understanding, I just truly got fascinated with it. And it also had brought up a realization that I would say 99.9% of people simply are not prepared for adulthood in a sense of having a relationship, and not just finding love, but when you do find that connection, to sustain it in the long run, meaning relationship skills, communication skills, conflict resolution skills. So I had just become extremely passionate about like truly equipping people with these essential life skills to ensure they do find love and then they sustain it in the long run. Because we're social beings. We all want connectedness. We all want togetherness. Even women that say, oh, I'm independent, I don't need a man. That's BS. That's not true. We all need a man. We absolutely all need a man. It just depends on how we approach that need and how we communicate that need. So yeah, it started as a hobby, kind of became a passion, and then essentially became a coaching business. And I'm one of those lucky doing what I love doing as a business. And it's awesome.
Well, appreciate that. I mean, appreciate that perspective, Irena, because if you've watched any of the content that goes around right now in the media, there's no one taking accountability. So I just want to say I really respect that you saw
I
that.
read the comments. Yeah. I unfortunately, there's a lot of the opposing camps, women going against women, men, and men going against women. And just like Alex, you said at the beginning, it's like, when are we going to stop for a second and think, wait a second, we need each other. We can complement each other. We can enhance each other's lives. When are we going to stop fighting, going at each other? And Sarah's like, how about we come from the place of togetherness? So, and yeah, I think that's the key. This is the fundamental.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I 100% agree with that. Like, as you were saying, Joel, like the media just pushes out it. They almost like are tearing us apart, and we have to be at odds instead of coming together. Because when you do come together, and relationships are difficult. It's not all rainbows. So it's not like you just you're going to find that perfect person and then everything's going to be great. No, there's going to be fights. There's going to be challenges along the way. And I think a lot of people, when you think about how we are raised with like Disney movies and fairy tales, and we think that we're find that perfect Prince Charming or whatever, that everything is just going to work out, and it doesn't. And so I want to segue into kind of dating apps, because we're talking about today's dating world. And I've heard a lot of struggles that men are having when it comes to dating apps. And so I want to ask you, Irena, like, why do you think dating apps are so difficult for men?
There are a few underlying reasons why there's a lot of frustration around using dating apps. It's not dating apps per se. The dating apps, in a sense, it's a technological tool. I happen to believe that it's an extremely important tool to optimize and to utilize to try to meet as many people as possible, because it is numbers game at the end of the day. You know, it's important to put yourself in front of as many as opportunities as possible. However, I think the main reason why there is so much frustration and confusion is majority of people either lack patience, they don't exactly know what they want, or even if they do, they can't communicate that with integrity. And this is where I was mentioning, you know, these two opposing camps. I coach men mostly. Once in a while, I coach women. If they come to me, I don't turn them away. I only market to men. However, there is this misconception by women when they come to me. It's like, well, men needs to do this and that. I'm like, no, that's not how it works. Women are not superior in any ways to men. Why is it that men have to live up to women's expectation? It's got to be teamwork. You got to come at it as a team. How do we make this unit dynamic work the best, the most effective and efficient way possible? So when it comes to dating apps, I think it's just the lack of skill. So when I coach, I literally teach a structure. How do you get from a match, starting with the compelling profile, all the way to making a date? And there's a structure that you apply to make sure you don't burn out, because it can get really frustrating when you don't know what you are doing, and then you just, oh yeah, I'm just going to blame women, or I'm going to blame platforms. At the end of the day, turn it around. You got to make changes within yourself first.
I kind of think of it this way, like your dating app profile is your resume. And if your resume isn't set up appropriately, then nobody's going to want you. So are you going to get mad? Like as a man, are you going to get mad at the women that aren't liking you? Because if you are, it's the same thing as I'm mad at companies and corporations for not hiring me for a job. And that just logically doesn't make sense. It just means you weren't the fit for the job.
It's a great
Absolutely.
analogy.
Yeah. And so that's one thing that I think is very important for guys to understand, for everybody to understand really, is that when you are putting yourself out there, it's very important that you're presenting yourself in the best way possible. I know that there's certain dating coaches that say to get like a professional photo shoot done. They'll help you out with some prompts and things like that. These are all great things to be aware of. Just having like 3 mirror selfies is not a great dating profile, and is not going to get you a lot of matches.
I'm on a receiving side of the girls looking for boys. So when I swipe, there's some of majority of them I just want to cry. I'm like, oh my god, it's like 7 different selfies from different angles of a close up that I can see the hair in your nose is not acceptable for the dating profile. And you know, and it's just like it could be a great guy, but there's not much investment. So you're absolutely right. Investing a little bit of effort and money into getting nicer pictures, or at least ask your female friend to take pictures so you have a different perspective, not selfies. Because like you said, Alex, this is your way in. And on top of that, guys, I don't know if you're aware, but the competition is fierce. For instance, if you take Tinder alone, there's about 75 million active users. Out of the 75 active users, about 3/4 of them are men. So when we're swiping, when we're choosing, we've got plenty to choose from. When you guys are swiping, you got to make sure that you stand out of the crowd, because if you don't, it's just not going to work, regardless of what a beautiful person you are, what a great personality you have, and how much you have to offer. So yeah, you got to make sure that you present yourself and make that impression so women can connect through the emotions, because that's the only way we connect to somebody or to the world in general, through our emotions. You got to trigger that.
Well, a couple questions on that, because I hear a lot that, you know, like that's all well and great, right? But really, at the end of the day, people are looking at the first picture and saying, are they hot or not? And then going left or right. So how much does this come down to like actually like attraction, right? I know personally, like I'm not going to do well in a liberal college city where I'm at now because of my race, and that's not an excuse. That's just kind of like the facts for me. So I do better in other places for sure. And it's important that I go to those places. But like kind of at the end of the day, it's like, is he hot or he is not, right? Like I think people say like, craft this profile, have a great bio. But when we look at the data, people like are swiping based on that first photo. So
Well, that's a good point to bring up, Joel, but this is human nature. It's got nothing to do with apps. It, regardless of where you connect to another human being, the first thing we connect to is visually. Okay, so this is why it is absolutely crucial to have decent pictures there. You don't have to stand in front of your Ferrari in a tuxedo, not at all. It just has to be like, for instance, when I coach, it has to be a few pictures that tell a story about your life. This is how we women connect to you, not to the fact that you're trying to look all vain or rich or whatever it is. That doesn't really trigger much. What triggers is that there is experiences that we can see in you. So you can have a selfie of your, if you want, of your face. You can have a full body. You can have a picture of you hiking. You can have a picture of you running a marathon if you're running. You can. There's got to be a life story in there. So when women are looking at your profile, there's like, oh, I can actually see myself in that life. Okay, this is how we connect to. So while swiping the initial, yes, it's absolutely through visual connection, through visual chemistry. But once it's done, we look at at least on the female side, we'll read the profile. So description should be filled out as well.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And actually, the way I describe it to my clients is your profile should tell a story. So that first photo is, the glamour shot, making sure that you're putting your
Yeah,
best foot forward.
you have to do that.
And then from there, you can kind of build it out however you would like to. It should tell a story. It should be kind of like a roller coaster of all the different intriguing things about you. And so, like as you were saying, like a hiking photo, any type of activity, definitely having some type of group photo of you with friends to show that you're not you're not a complete psycho and you actually have friends.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I think that's really, really great advice. So one of the things that I kind of wanted to ask and I wanted to dive into is the very basic question: what are women actually looking for?
That's $1 million questions.
It is.
Some women may not know yet, but so we have different biological wirings. Okay, you guys are wired a certain way, we are wired a certain way. We're very different, and yet when we come together, we can make something absolutely beautiful together. Okay, if we are aware of our differences and how we can complement each other. So when it comes for women looking for a relationship, a partner, a companionship, whatever it is she is looking for, essentially she is looking for connection. She is looking for somebody to be by her side. The number one priority for us to find is trustworthiness, something I mentioned just a bit earlier. What is trustworthiness? Trustworthiness is something that I go, okay, can I count on him? Is he going to do what he's saying he's going to do? Is he going to be a good provider? Is he going to be a good father for my children? Okay, all of that stuff, it goes subconsciously for us. We're wired biologically to be looking for a man that is giving us that sense of trustworthiness. Okay, how to achieve that for a man from a man's point of view is you need to develop confidence. And I'm saying develop for a reason. Confidence, you're not necessarily naturally born confident. This is a big misconception because I've coached guys that are like, well, I'm just not confident. So okay, I can't find it. So I'm like, no, confident, it's a skill. It's a skill that you learn through actually becoming competent first. What that means, you acquire skills that gives you confidence, which consequently translates in you acting more confidently around women, which consequently makes them perceive you confident and them being attracted to you. So confidence for us, it's not the 3 6s. This is totally not true. The 6-figure income, the 6 feet, and the 6-pack. I mean, if all that comes with confidence and trustworthiness, then great. But it's not what we are actually attracted to. Confidence is truly our number one aphrodisiac. This is why there's this notion the women like bad boys. No, it's because bad boys, quote unquote, exude some kind of a little bit more confidence, right? And that's what we're drawn to biologically, sexually, physiologically, okay? But yes, trustworthiness is something that we are looking for. That's what we are wired to look for.
I really like that how you're saying trust too, because when you look at the word confidence, if you break it down to its like Latin origin, it's confidere. Confidere in Latin means to trust. So I learned that like probably 6 years ago, and it really helped because if I was going to go around saying I'm just going to be confident, right, I would have done all the ego things, right? Tried to get the nice car, tried to get the the 8-pack. 6 isn't enough anymore. We need the 8-pack. Yep. But when you look at trust, that's more human. There's a more spiritual component to that. So I really like that idea of trust. And
yeah, it's something that just with the confidence piece that I've tried to teach people and tried to instill in people, because I think the 3 6s is nonsense, absolute nonsense. I mean, it's nice to haves, but it's not necessary to haves. And so with me, what we call, at least in this dating space, like the men's dating space, is game. That's essentially what you're talking about with confidence. And so as long, I always say like game trumps all, because if you have the confidence and the charisma, then you're going to beat out like the 6 foot tall, 6-pack abs, rich guy who has no idea how to talk to or connect to somebody else. And so I think that's huge.
That's huge. And this is like, you have to emphasize the fact, it's like, because when you say when you have it, it's something that you can absolutely acquire. There's plenty of extremely good looking guys that I would start talking to, and there's just nothing. Like, it's only the objective visual beauty, but there is just no depth. There is no confidence. So just like you said, Alex, it's really the 3 6s is total myth. I'm sure there are women that may be looking for that specifically, and it's their choice. It's fine. Women who are truly looking for connection and relationship and partnership, however, that is definitely not the priority at all.
Yeah, 100%. So I want to bring up this question here, or this statement that will lead to a question. What is that there? Caillou sends balloons. Okay. So I match with plenty of women on Tinder, but I guess I have zero game because I'll text them and they usually never reply. I have mixed feelings about online dating websites, not going to lie. So from that question, my question to you is, if you match with somebody, how do you start the conversation? Like, how do you start it with a good spark that it can actually lead to maybe an eventual date?
That's actually my favorite part when I coach online dating. So anybody who's listening, grab a pen and a paper. I'm gonna give you the magical formula that will make this work. Remember I mentioned earlier that we women, we connect to man or to the world through our emotions. Like, you have to remember that you have to trigger our emotions for us to raise some kind of interest in your profile. We don't know who you are. You might be the greatest guy out there, but if you don't know how to open properly to trigger the emotions, then there is really no chance. So I teach to send out compelling openers. What is a compelling opener? You see the profile that you like, you go back to the profile, you read the description and you pay attention to what is said in the description. You look through all the pictures and you find in the profile something to either comment on or ask about. I will give you a couple examples, specific examples, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. But your goal is to connect to a woman through her emotions, okay? Let's say there's a picture of her somewhere in the mountains and she just looks like she's had a great hike, she's had a great time, okay? She's She's just radiant. You never ever open with "you're beautiful, let's talk." That's boring because we get about 1 million of those. Okay.
But what about this? Hey, what's up? How are you doing?
No highs, no hays, no how are yous. That's just, there's nothing wrong with saying that if you're talking to somebody face to face. The competition is so high for the guys that you got to do your absolute best to stand out of the crowd. How do you stand out of the crowd? You look at the picture of this girl who is standing in the mountains somewhere, and she just looks like she had the time of her life, and you write her and you say, "Hey, Susan, you look so radiant and so happy in the picture in the mountains. Where was it taken?" Number one point is you commenting on her emotions. You paid attention to her experience, not how she looked like, what she was born with, but her emotion, her experience. And number two, you actually asking a question that most likely will prompt her because she's going to emotionally connect to that experience she had, and most likely she will want to answer that question. "Oh, it was taken there, and I had a great time." This is how you trigger the emotion, not by haze, by highs, by how are yous, or "you're beautiful, you're whatever, you're hot, let's talk." Yeah, this is all boring. It's very mundane, it's extremely bland, and it doesn't make you stand out of the crowd at all. So the opener always has to be something that you comment on or you ask about, or better to do both of these points. And something relatable is absolutely awesome. If there is a picture, like I see a lot of guys have pictures with the dogs, and I always wonder, I'm like, okay, is this a prop, or is this just, or is it their dog, right? Girls have also pictures with dogs, let's say. So if she has a photo with a dog, and you happen to have a dog yourself, or you happen to love animals and dogs, this is a perfect opportunity to relate and connect. And you go, "Hey, Annie, you look so happy in that picture with the dog. Is this your dog? I have a dog myself as well." Just right there, you connected to her emotions, to her experience, and you related to her. You gave her a piece of your life as well. Do you see the difference what I'm talking about?
Yeah, no, it's great. I wrote a book, the first text, that focuses exactly on this and
Awesome.
how you spike the emotions and how that's so important. And just to kind of streamline it for guys, because a lot of times they'll get stuck and they'll be sitting there and they'll be thinking for like 10, 15 minutes before they finally send the text. And then they get exhausted and burn out because they're spending 10, 15 minutes for every single match. And just simple stuff like that. Like, one of the first ones that popped into my head is like one of the girls that I used as an example here. She had a photo of her at a casino, and just like, "How much did you win that night?" And that's so much different than just "Hey" or "What's up" or something like that.
Yeah,
So it's very important to pay attention to those types of things and those experiences, and then commenting on them, because you almost force a response, because people love to talk about themselves. And when you're noticing something that they may be very passionate about, or as you said, like with the experience, it was a really cool experience for them, pulling that emotion is going to start the conversation.
absolutely. Yeah, that's what the compelling opener is all about. Yes, you do have to put a little effort into it, and you probably will have if you have never done it. And if you're used to haze and highs, then yeah, you're gonna have to, there's gonna be a learning curve. But once you do a few, you will get a hand of it, and then you will be catching that on real quick. So if there's a girl running a marathon, you ask her, "Hey, how did it feel crossing the finish line?" I'm training for marathon as well, if you happen to do that. So, it's that simple. It's actually not that complicated.
So that sounds, yeah, super simple. And so I do want to come up with the perspective I think a lot of guys have, is that the fear is of being boring, right? Like if I just ask her about her, just comment about what something she's doing, like that's boring. There's no spark, there's no electricity. It's just like, oh, yeah, dog, cool, right? Obviously you say it different than I just said it, but dog, cool, nice.
Dog, cool. Yeah.
Date. Let's do it. Yeah. So how do you breach that then? Because I think again, the worry is that it's going to come off like too nice guyish, too like big brother or something like that.
You mean if you send her this compelling opener and she responds back with just a very short one-liner? Is that
Yeah.
That's a good one to drop into. I hear what you're saying, Joel, but I want to touch on what she just said right there. Yeah, how do you navigate that when you go ahead and you formulate such a compelling opener, you're hitting the emotions, and you may get back a short response, or you continually are getting no response at all. Like, how do you calibrate that? How do you understand how to say things to get a response?
There is not much to understand there, guys. You got to realize that the online dating, it's a filtering system. You cannot possibly expect every single match to work. It's impossible, and it's not the goal. Your goal is essentially to filter through all dead end connections as efficiently as possible to get to the one who will respond to you with a similar size message and with a similar emotion. Okay, that's your goal. So you don't get stuck on the fact that it's like, oh, okay, cool. If that happens, I'm like, okay, she might be talkative. I would not like cancel it out completely right away. I always tend to think that there needs to be a little bit benefit of a doubt. You never know, she might not be talkative, but that doesn't mean if just because she answered was a little short one liner, you continue with being a little bit more compelling, right? Just kind of take the lead, give her the model, and maybe she will catch on, right? But if it doesn't flow, it doesn't flow. That's it. You filter it out and you move on. You move on to the next one. You do not try to force anything. It's a filtering process.
I really like that mindset. It's like it's a good reminder that you're gonna miss way more than you hit. And we have a friend that's I would say he's an expert dater, and he gets like 1 out of 20 online dating, and he has great success. So it's just a good reminder. I think I know this is something I've struggled with, is wanting everyone to be right. Like, they match with me, right? They must like me. It's like, no, maybe they're just sitting on the toilet and they're just like, all right, good, yes, no, right. And once we get into the weeds of it, then
You
it's like,
gotta
okay,
drop your assumptions. You're right.
yep,
Like,
yep.
there are a lot of assumptions. There is also, you have to be, I have one of my blog posts on my website is about this specifically, but you got to be careful about projecting your hopes, your desires onto that virtual person that you have no idea who they are, right? And yet you saw the picture and you're desperate to connect to that person, and then you imagine this person to be something that she might not be, right? So you try to stick to the facts. So if it's short message coming back to your nice compelling opener, it could be a sign that she might not be your person. Okay, but I do want to say this to all the guys, is you have to remember that this is a filtering system, but it will take only one connection with the right person to make all of this attempts worthwhile. So giving up and getting stuck and getting obsessive over somebody who did not respond a certain way or did not respond at all is definitely not worth the time. There's about 8 billion people in the world. There's plenty of girls to date. Keep moving on, keep filtering through.
God, that could be
great.
the podcast right there.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's definitely a hard one for me too, like that I went through when I was experiencing it, because you get that match that you're like, oh my God, she's so gorgeous, like yada yada yada, and it just doesn't go anywhere, and you get so defeated and so frustrated, and it's like, look, we can't control other people, we can only control ourselves. So just understand that, as you said, there's 8 billion people in the world. So just, keep chugging along until you find, because once you do, oh, it's so worth it. It is amazing when you have a brilliant relationship.
Oh, that's
You
awesome.
do have to go in with the abundance mindset, because mindset makes a huge difference if it doesn't make up to pretty much up to everything. Because if you go in thinking, oh, women is this and that, women are just, they whatever, they're not gonna like me, or there's not enough women, you will essentially attract that to yourself. This is exactly what you're gonna manifest. So if you go in with the right mindset thinking, okay, every rejection is essentially redirection towards the connection that will work better for me. You don't look at it as approval. You don't need approval from any women. Your identity, your self-worth does not depend on women's approval at all. So should not be. I mean, but this is, of course, this is a deeper work. This is a mindset work. This is actually part of work that I do in my coach. And before I even give you the dating skills, you actually have to go through the mindset reprogramming if it needs to be done. But this is essential. You go in with the abundance mindset and it makes it easier. Rejection is part of life, but rejection only brings you closer to the connection that will work for you.
And question off that before we move on to the next topics here. Why do guys get so attached to that one person? What do you think it is, like psychologically, biologically? What have
Because
you seen?
it's not even just guys, actually. It's people in general. Girls do the same thing. It's the lack of emotional resilience. It's the lack of possibly emotional intelligence, and we are attaching our self-worth. We're essentially given this somebody else, our self-worth. Please approve us so we can feel good about ourselves, right? But this is much deeper work. As I mentioned, this is something that everybody should probably work on sooner or later, but you need to make sure that you understand that you should not rely on anybody approving you or disapproving you. Because when you go in dating world, there's not two outcomes, rejection or approval, because this is most guys how they look at. And if there's a rejection, yeah, it's uncomfortable. It sucks, right? No, it's the goal is to get to the connection with potential to explore. That's all you need to do. You need to see if there's potential to explore, because it is a slow burning process getting to know somebody and getting from that match, or even if you met somebody in person, all the way to the fact when you can go, okay, let's be exclusive in the relationship, right? It's a slow burning process. But for that, you need to do some self-work, some self-improvement. You got to become the best version of yourself possible if you truly want to have the life with a partner where it's just fulfilling and rewarding for both of you.
And Alex and I have been talking a lot about this behind the scenes. Like, we see that as codependency, right? Thinking that you're going to find fulfillment for someone outside yourself. So again, that is a whole nother topic. We're definitely going to dive into it more on this channel and on Sobriety University as well. So you can definitely come over. Alex and I will be doing some more work around that, because again, we agree with you, Irena. It's so important to do that inner work. And it's a big part, like, it's left out on the dating space. It's like, you master the 3 6s and then you get your bank account up, boom, you're good to go. But you see a lot of these guys, they don't have lasting relationships because they just have done the surface level stuff. And so again, the deeper level work, a whole nother conversation. We'll be talking more about that. You can come over to Sobriety University to learn more about codependency. And obviously Alex will be coming on there a little bit more too, but move on from that. We can talk about
that's great. Yeah.
Deep topic. Yeah, it needs like a separate podcast for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm very excited to share some of my experiences with that codependency and Coda, like Codependence Anonymous. Lots of interesting stuff that we're gonna be pushing out in the future. But my next question then is, all right, so I've fixed my profile. Looks great. I'm really doing well with these compelling openers. Now, how do I actually get the girl on a date? And I have a strategy or a method that I kind of teach guys that I'll share afterwards. But I want to ask you first, Irena, like, how do you help guys go from that? All right, she responded. We're in the conversation. How do I actually get the date now?
Oh, absolutely. Happy to share. I'm curious if your method and my method match up. I hope they do. But so the text and conversation seems to be flowing. Let's say hypothetically you reached out and she responded, and there seems to be flow. I always call it, imagine like you're playing ping pong. Like, it's got to be, you got to make sure that there's a relatively equal amount of investment, because if you write her this long messages and she responds with this short messages, beware that connection is not really happening there. It has to be two-way street. But let's imagine it is a two-way street and the conversation is actually flowing. There is playfulness, there is seriousness, there is different emotions touched on. So let's say you do that for a few hours. Here's my strategy that I give. You don't tag you if you match up on Saturday morning and you text throughout the day and it's going well. By the time Saturday comes to evening, you go, listen, it looks like the text messaging going really well. I'm really enjoying texting with you. but I want to hear your voice. Let's have a phone chat. Are you available tomorrow? And you very strongly suggest that phone call has to happen, because guess what? You do not go on a date without talking to her on the phone. The phone call will show you if there's truly potential to explore. Texting is, again, those projected hopes, desires, fears, communication style. This is all good to know as a fundamental. That's not enough, nowhere near enough to know what this person is about. And very often, even in my personal experience, I've texted with somebody, I'm like, wow, this person is articulate. This is really nice. Because for instance, I'm a big fan of truly excellent communication skills. I'm like, hey, let's chat on the phone. We get on the phone and it sounds like a completely different person. And I was like, whoa, okay, so texting is one thing, talking on the phone is another. It did not flow. So if you get on the phone and the conversation kind of flows naturally, and there is a certain emotional rhythm to it, like you laugh and you can ask serious questions, and if you have that sense that you want to see this person again, you want to get to know this person more, this is where you set up the date. On the phone call. And I always suggest to guys, please take the lead. And you don't ask her, hey, would you like to go on a date? You tell her, hey, I'm really enjoying this. Why don't we go out next Sunday, go grab some ice cream or coffee together and see what is this connection all about? Okay? Take the lead, take the charge. We are attracted, going back to that confidence, being an aphrodisiac, we are attracted to the guys that take the lead. I have guys tell me that they actually allow women to choose or take the lead. I'm like, guess what? As soon as we feel we need to take the lead, that's it. You're pretty much going to be going into the friend zone if you are connected. So that doesn't make us feel like we can count on you. So tell her that you would like to meet up. And I suggest don't even call it first date. It's a non-date. It's a get-together. It's just a get-together to see if you have that click, okay? So, and you have to schedule it. You have to make it happen, preferably within like 7 days, within a week, so you don't waste your time. And then if she says, sure, let's get together, and if the date and time is established for that, don't do too much texting that week. Don't go too deep into it, because you don't know yet who you are meeting. There's so many times you go on a date, you have this image, and then you get there and it's like, oh, and it falls flat. You're not connected physically. The chemistry is not there. Energy is not there, can happen. And it's disappointing. So don't invest too much on that week, but tell her that you're absolutely looking forward to meeting her face to face to see if there is a true connection to explore.
I like that.
The match to the first get together. That's non-date.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fantastic. It's very, very similar to what I teach. So maybe my method is a little bit more aggressive, but what I call it is the 5-4-5. So 5 for 5. No more than 5 messages from you and no more than 5 messages from her before you guys get on a video call. So very similar to the phone call. And especially if you're being playful, and then when you go to like initiate it, like there's a couple different ways you can do it, whether just like straight direct, or, I like to be playful. I'm a silly guy. So I like to be like, how about we hop on a FaceTime so I can make sure you're not a psycho or something like that, with like a little cheesy face with it, like things like that, just keeping things playful. Especially if the interest level is high, then when you're having that conversation, that 15-30 minute video chat, you get to see if she actually looks like her photos. Like, I know a lot of people tend to put like older photos and things like that. You also get to see if your chemistry actually exists, and you get to see the other person talking with them. And then if things are going well, then you wrap it up with that, let's actually go on a date. Like, I'm ready for our second date. Right?
You go from phone call to a second date.
Yeah. So when are we having our second date? And because you kind of treat that as your first date, your first meeting. And I really think that face-to-face, like as we're doing right now, is very powerful. And so
100%.
with that 5 for 5, you're also like, because I know a lot of guys, what they'll do is they may buy some of the premium services. And so with those premium services, you can have unlimited swipes, which technically means you could have unlimited matches. And so it's better to, strike while the iron's hot and cycle through things instead of getting caught up on, a couple different matches and things like that. And then it doesn't work out later on. So that's really my method, which is, it's very similar to how you teach people to do it. And I think it's great. And it worked great for me. I mean, heck, that's how I have my girlfriend. And that's how a lot of guys have really seen a lot of success, because you're cutting through the BS. Because let's be honest, in this filtering system, there is a lot of
That's
BS.
exactly what you're doing, exactly. And it's very important. I do want to note here is that you got to value your time, and you got to make sure that you value yourself as a person. Okay. When you get stuck in texting for days, weeks, sometimes months. I had a phone call with somebody who had texted for 6 months, never even had a phone call. And it's
Yeah.
really sad, because there was so much desperation for like connection, but that's not connection. That's really not connection when you're texting with somebody. So making it efficient, knowing that, and I always suggest, like, even use this phrase, like, listen, I value my time and I want to make sure I value your time. To make this efficient, let's find out if we're actually have any connection, phone call, and then consequently you set up the first get together. But yes, filter through.
I
This
did
is not
that in the 11th grade. I had a girl that we talked for like, I don't know, 5 months over text. And then we finally met, and it was the most awkward thing that I've ever experienced. And we never talked again. So it's like, yeah, that's such a good tip to get on a FaceTime call and just suss out the person. Because for me, I like day game the best, because you get to have that connection immediately. And I've never thought like, oh, well, you can have that by just setting up a call. So huge.
Yes, and there are some people who will not agree to that, but this is another aspect to filter through. If the girl says, "Oh, I'm not comfortable getting on video call," I mean, for us girls, it could be that we don't feel good about ourselves today, and we don't feel like pretty enough, or whatever reason. It's like, hey, let's have a call tomorrow. You got to give her just a little bit of time to, doll up. If she wants to do that, that's fine. But if the person says, "No, I don't want to have a video call," that should be a red flag. Because if the person is not willing to invest into the simple video phone call before meeting in person, that person does not value your time, their time, and probably should not be paid attention to.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, again, it's just sussing out the people that you're not compatible with. And if they're not willing to do that, I agree, that's a huge flag. What have you seen as maybe one of the other biggest troubles that guys have when they're working with online dating?
With the online dating, I think we had pretty much touched on the majority of points here. It's really not that complicated. I think
That's so
one
funny.
of the some people do need improvement in communication skills, period, online dating or not. And so when I coach people, I actually have them for a couple weeks. When they start using online apps, they share their screenshots with me, or I look at how they communicate. And very often there is a need for improvement in communication skills, meaning that if she asks you a question, you answer, and then you follow up with the question. Again, returning to that ping pong analogy, ping pong games, right? So there has to be a flow in this communication. And you always, the guys especially, you have to keep in mind that different emotions have to be triggered throughout the conversation in order for a woman to truly feel some kind of potential of connection in there. So yeah, communication is the key to everything, essentially, as texting communication, phone call, or in person can be improved. And thankfully, there's abundance of material online. You YouTube it and you'll get bazillion of videos on how to improve your communication skills. So you're lazy if you don't go in and actually make sure that you can communicate properly. And if we do get to the point of talking about how to make first dates special, I can tell you that. But also this can apply for the texting period before you get to a date. come up with questions that are unexpected and interesting, not just boring job interview type of questions.
Oh yeah,
I
that's
love
so
that.
huge. So huge.
I want to speak on that because that's one that I've used before. It's like, those types of questions that really make you think and make you feel. And so talking to somebody, it's like, so if money didn't matter, nothing in the world mattered, you can do whatever you always wanted to do in life, what would that be? Because most of the times we just have these jobs where, we like it, but we don't love it. And it's not like what our dream would be. So money aside, what would you really love to be able to do? Questions like that, I think, are absolutely fantastic. It gets the mind going. Or like, if you could drop everything tomorrow and nothing matters for the next week, where in the world would you want to go?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
One of my favorites,
Yeah.
for the food, like instead of asking, yo, what do you like to eat? What's your favorite food? You say, okay, let's say you and I were married, right? And you come home and I'm with another woman. You get pissed and you kill us both. You go to jail and you're on death row. What would your last meal be?
Joel, I don't know how I feel about that one.
I'm not sure that would work. I would be like, okay, I think I'm not sure if he's kidding or he's actually serious about that.
Okay, it's worked for me. maybe, yeah, build some trust first before throwing that question. But the point is to be creative, right? Find a way to ask a simple question that can paint a story, right? Guys, take that question and do what you want with it. maybe we'll have to, restructure that one. But
you can downgrade it to like, hey, if you had to eat one meal for the rest of your life, what it would be. So
you could change it slightly, and you can go ahead and say, all right, so let's say we're married, because one, what that's doing, it's implanting the idea in our mind of this, successful relationship. So let's say we're married and it's our 5-year wedding anniversary, and you're coming home from work and I had been planning to make dinner for you as a surprise. What would you ideally want that meal to be?
There you go.
I like that.
I like that better, Joel.
We got some work to do, guys. we'll get it done.
Oh, that's funny.
Kind of scared a little bit. So, but yeah, essentially, I do want to say this, guys. Though, I just want to kind of put a little bit more of a label on why this is so important, like an explanation. There are a couple points you're touching on here. When you ask somebody, and this works for in-person or online essentially, but when you ask somebody spontaneous, unexpected question that they most likely have never been asked before, that person will show more of authenticity to you, because it's not going to be pre-programmed, oh, I work in the office 9 to 5. Questions she had answered about bazillion time to somebody else. Okay, it will put her in a position to like truly dig through, and it's like, oh wow, okay, again, you're touching on emotions, you're digging a little bit deeper, you're looking for substance, and she will give you much more values versus dry facts. These are the type of questions, open-ended questions, interesting, unexpected questions, that will have her answer with a lot more values. You will learn a lot more about this person, how she will describe that. So instead of asking, for instance, hey, what do you do for work? Ask her, hey, was this something that you have always wanted to do in your career? Is it fulfilling to you? Do you think this is where you're going to settle in, or you're going to pursue something else? Ask her questions that will make her to like really think about stuff, because she will give her authentic self to you through those responses.
That is a great point. I'm glad that you clarified that more, because that's one of the issues that I have is like, I figured all this stuff out. And so sometimes I don't want to say dumb it down, but I don't bring it down to every level and explain everything, because it makes sense to me already. But that is 100% great to really pull out the authentic self on a date. And so speaking of that date, I really do want to I really do love the question, and I would love to dive into it. How do you make that first date memorable? So you've gone through all the things, you've gotten the match, you've been texting, then you do your FaceTime or your phone call, everything's all set. How do you make that first date memorable?
All right. So before we make this date memorable, let's chat just for a second about the fact that this non-date should be super casual, preferably not on Friday night or Saturday night. And I'll tell you why. Because when you're meeting somebody for the first time, you would like them to perceive you as somebody who has relatively set up social life, and that you are not just watching Netflix, eating pizza on Friday night and Saturday night. Okay, so schedule it for during the day. It puts a lot less pressure. Find a place that's super casual, okay, and choose a location where you don't have to be sitting across the table. Find a place where you can actually have a chance to be side by side, and I will explain why. Um, so casual during the day, preferably, maybe Sunday, Saturday brunch, something like that. Grab a coffee, grab an ice cream, grab if the weather's nice, let's go get a grab ice cream, a cup of coffee, cup of whatever, something cheap, and then we go out for a walk. This is your opportunity to truly connect and see the person in a wholesome way, okay? And keep it inexpensive because it can get a little awkward with the bill. We can touch on that as well if you guys want, and I'm happy to share my insights on that. So let's say you picked a place, it's casual, you can sit side by side, you're not really blocked with the big table. Don't ever go to dinner on the first date. That's a big mistake. And you came and she seems nice and you're ready to explore this connection. So before I get into it, I'm going to share with you that I had a client a couple months ago. He stopped coaching with me. He did the whole program. When he came to me, he said, Irena, I've had 22 first dates and not even 1 second. I was like, okay, something's not working. I'm like, that's a lot of first dates. He was very proactive. He's a really nice guy, very eager to like really learn how it needs to be done. So once we got to it, what happened was what I'm about to share. The lack of ability to make this first meeting emotionally triggering and memorable. So the girl walks away thinking, oh, that was nice. And not like, oh, that was just like everything else or everybody else. How do you make yourself stand out of the crowd? You do that by creating an emotional rhythm in a date. So first of all, before emotional rhythm, you need to make sure that you are well put together, because we women notice things that you guys have no idea. So when you're going on a date, put an effort into looking nice, clean, nicely fitted clothes, nice dressy shoes, not running shoes, not jeans, fine dressy pants. Roll up your sleeves, show off your forearms because it turns on big time. Now you're showing.
No, I'm just saying I've been doing that for I've been doing that for years. I can't remember the last time I've actually legitimately worn a long sleeve shirt without it being rolled up.
Well, if you're wearing a nice dress shirt, roll it up anyways to show off your forearms. But nice shoes, make sure you smell good. Take care of your nails. We notice that. Take care of your skin. So you guys are perfect. So, and too bad you're out of my age range. And make sure you just really well put together, because it takes about 7 seconds to make a first impression. If you make a make first impression that's bad, and it's really hard to change it, really hard. Okay, so let's say first impression is there, and now this is where the emotional rhythm, creating emotional rhythm comes in. You have to make sure that you are asking the questions that are unexpected, that are spontaneous, and that touch on different emotional topics, trigger different emotions. Don't do the job interview. What do you do? How long you've been in this area? What's your 5-year plan? What's your 10-year plan? No, it's not a job interview. You need to connect to the emotions. So you ask her, just like we gave an examples with Alex, you prepare those questions. I always have the guys have at least minimum five questions that the girl most likely has never heard in her life before, because this is what will make her go home thinking, whoa, he just asked me that. Like, nobody has actually asked me that. There's going to be thoughts in her mind that will make her connect to you. Like I just myself went to the event on Friday, and this guy was talking to me, and it was just, I'm sorry to say, but it was boring. So I look at him and goes like, listen, if you had a choice between having a fast forward button in your life or a rewind button in your life to change something, which one would you choose? And he just froze. He's like, oh, he's never heard the question before. But after that, the conversation changed. He actually got very elaborate about that. And I've learned a lot more about him by answering one question that was very unexpected. This is what you want. You want the playfulness, you want the seriousness, you want the sadness, and you absolutely have to employ your excellent listening skills. And if you do not have listening skills, you better learn how to listen to women, because aside of looking for trustworthiness, what we're looking for is space, a safe space for our emotions to be expressed, accepted, without men trying to fix us or cancel our emotions out. It's absolutely crucial. So if she's sharing something with you that is somewhat sad, if she had overcome some challenge, please make sure that you reflect back to her that, wow, that must have been hard. And it sounded like you truly had to put effort into it. Make her feel good about what she had done. This is where compliments and physical looks fall flat, because we know how we look like. We get plenty of compliments, okay? It's the compliment on accomplishment, something that you were not born with, that really gets stuck in our heads in the most positive way. So touch on different emotional topics, ask unexpected, spontaneous questions, prepare them, make sure you have them handy, okay? And remember I said sitting side by side. In addition to emotional rhythm, you need to actually combine it with physical touch. And this is something that, this is one of the mistakes that guys do, because I've had guys tell me, oh no, I purposefully give her space and don't touch her just so she knows that I respect her. I'm like, no, that's a mistake. If you combine this emotional conversation with physical touch that is appropriate, and I'm going to show you in a second what it is, it creates in her brain, it creates a true connection to you. So when you're sitting side by side, you actually get a chance to have access to her body and touch her in the conversation. The safe space to touch is from the hand all the way to the shoulder. This is the safe space. Obviously, you don't grope her, go all over the place, because then she's gonna call the cops and that's it. It's not gonna end well. But if she was sitting on the bench, let's say you're talking somewhere in a park, right? You have your side by side. Every time, if she said, you put your hand on top of her hand and you say, wow, that must have been hard, okay? And you focus on making your touches frequent but short, not too long, because that may make her feel uncomfortable. Short and frequent physical touch in combination with the emotional conversation and questions is something that truly makes us feel like, wow, there is a potential. I can start letting my guard down and I can start truly connecting to him. This is what makes the first get together truly memorable for a girl. This is what makes you stand out of the crowd among other guys.
I like that when it comes to the physical touch. So like, for example, she says something and then you put your hand on her, like don't slap, but put your hand on her hand. It's like, no way, you're lying to me. And it escalates the already emotional state that you guys are going through. And it makes things interesting. And, once somebody is comfortable with physical touch, that really, it allows, both men and women to allow them into each other. So I like that.
Absolutely. And the other thing is that I just did a dating workshop a couple weeks ago, and one of the guys, he asked a question, he said, it's like, it seems like I'm doing everything right, but I always land in a friend zone. The girls just want to be friends with me. So when we got a little bit into it, well, it turns out that conversation was good. Physical touch was completely absent. And he made a mistake thinking that he's actually giving them space. So if you don't touch us, we don't know that you're physically attracted to us. We have no idea. And if we think you're not physically attracted to us, then okay, we can be friends. Why not? The conversation is flowing great. You can be my girlfriend, right? So physical touch is absolutely crucial, but yes, you absolutely have to pay attention, Alex, just like you mentioned, you have to pay attention to the body language, because you don't know what kind of experience she has had before. So if she's closed off and her body is turned away from you, yes, she's not really connected to you. So I would not attempt any physical touch. However, if she's sitting next to you and she's using her hand gestures and her body language is open, then by all means combine the conversation with the physical touch, so she knows that you desire her, and that will reinforce her emotional connection and her physical connection with you.
And I
Got it.
want to say, sorry, Joel, let me just, and I want to say with that, some ways, like if they are crossed and like closed body language, some ways to at least, initiate some of that physical touch and maybe have them open more. Let's say she's wearing like really nice rings or a really nice bracelet or something like that. You can say, can I see that? And be like, what? It's like, well, I really love that ring that you're wearing. I just want to see it. And then you can hold her hand and like look at it. And it's like, wow, that's really cool. Like, when did you get that? And then you can start to initiate that connection. And then she's going to be thinking back to the time when she had bought it. And then it can come with a story. And then you can start getting that connection flowing.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's all about creating that space where she can start trusting you, because you truly don't know what kind of experience she has had. She could have been assaulted in the past. This is why it takes her a very long time to start trusting a man, especially when it comes to physical touch. So if the woman is healthy and she hopefully has not had any traumatic experiences, then yes, by all means, she will be open. But if she's closed off, don't give up. If she seems interesting, but you may need to just to put more effort into truly helping her to trust you and let the guard down.
And guys, it'll give you confidence too. Like when a girl's open to your touch, you're just like, oh wow, it's nice. She likes me, and then you'll start flowing a little better. You'll be a little more confident. So it's gonna play in your favor too. I really like that what you said, Irina, about sitting next to your date. And actually, the first podcast Alex and I did, we talked about this, and I think there's pros and cons to being across and next to. I always go next to because one, you can like your legs might start brushing up against each other, right? That's like a great way to have some like subtle touch without being overt about it, and then you kind of get establish that connection. You're next to each other with the energy. But Alex, you were saying that you like to sit across. Can you kind of tell why, on your view on that, like why you think that's important too?
Yeah, I like to I like to sit across because I like to have the face to face, and so I think that the very strong eye contact can. I mean, it's more advanced to kind of like go that way, but the very strong eye contact, especially when you're saying certain things, can really hit a lot better. And I think you can really pull out that emotion and everything else a lot more. And even as I said, with like touching the hands and things like that, you can do that sitting across from each other as long as it's not some big massive table. So that's just personally how I like to do it. But there's pros and cons to both. I think that sitting next to is a lot easier to do. Whereas sitting across, it takes a lot more social calibration, especially when it comes to that eye contact and the things being said. But that's why I personally like it. I just kind of have evolved to that point, and that's just my opinion. So
Yeah, that's totally cool. I've learned that it is harder to sit across because you have to be on your game. You got to have that strong eye contact. You can't be like, darting around and stuff versus when you're sitting next to each other. But, I think play around with both, obviously, experiment, find which one you
And
like
I
best.
do want to mention something here, guys. Just, obviously, this is not one size fits all. So we all have different personalities. We all have different approach to physicality of interaction and the intimacy and everything. So that's why, as coach Alex, whether you do it or I do it, like we can adjust to the intricacies of one specific person. However, when it comes to a little bit more generalized concept, for instance, even if you were to just go get ice cream and you walk around and then you see a bench, guess what? The bench is this long. So all you do is you still turn towards the person, you still get the eye contact, because just like you said, Joe, I forgot which one of you said, I think you both said it, eye contact is absolutely crucial. Eye contact is absolutely crucial. This is what also adds to the emotional conversation, the physical touch. Like, you cannot truly connect to the person without making the eye contact. But there is there's a lot more flexibility when you are not separated by a table. The reason I'm not a big fan of having the table in between Alex is because you cannot see from this point on, you cannot see the rest of the body language. And women, actually, you can see a lot, but how their feet, how their legs are positioned, and how they react to when you're talking. So it's just not a complete picture.
What are some of those cues, Irena?
Well, I'll give you some general idea. This is also like a fascinating aspect to teach somebody on the body language. The universal one, I think everybody knows, is when we touch our hair, and especially if we uncover the side of the neck, that means we're truly connected to you. Okay, so if we go and we put the hair on one side, if we touch the neck, that means we're truly connected to you. When we are using our hands as we're talking, and if we're turning 10 to 10, turn our wrist and open palm towards you, that means we are comfortable. That means we're attracted and we're connecting to you. So if you see me talk and I turn my hands this way and to show off my wrist and my palms, that means that I'm comfortable and I'm feeling safe and I'm feeling connection in there. Okay, so that's what when it comes to the upper language, to upper body body language. When it comes to the posture in general, open or close body language, I think it's pretty noticeable easily. So if she's crossed arm, obviously she's not buying into something. So you may want to watch that and you want to see if you can actually get her to uncross. If she uncrosses, then you did something right. That works. That's perfect. If she is sitting here, I'm going to move back so you can see. If she's sitting, for instance, and she's got her one leg across the other, but her knees and her feet are pointing away from you, and you're over here, she's not connecting. She's hesitant. She's not sure. If she turns back, if she changes the position and she turns towards you with her knees and her feet pointing towards you, she's in. She's invested. Okay, so this is when it comes to legs and to feet. If the girl is playing with some kind of object, if she has, for instance, I don't have my ring here, but if she has the ring and she's playing with the ring on her finger, if she's caressing any kind of object or with her jewelry, she is physically sexually attracted to you. And there is one more thing that I share that not a lot of guys know. We have this little spot here in our neck. So if you're talking to us and our finger goes there, or if our necklace is there and we're playing with the necklace, we're feeling pretty intimate. We're feeling that this is something's good is happening here. So we're starting to open up. So these are the things that, if you pay attention to those things, you can read a lot about the woman, and you can adjust accordingly. This also works, when you're talking to somebody, just like trying to approach somebody in a social setting.
I like that. Those are all things that I knew but never really shared or put everything to words. So it's great that you're able to do that, because that is fire information, guys. That is fire information to pay attention to.
Yeah, and it's actually it's not complicated. I mean, it's just a few things that you need to remember, and you do need to pay attention to it. Like, you have to put an effort into it.
Mm-hmm. I'll be on my next day. I'm be like, she touched your neck. Like, God damn it.
Well, don't make it awkward.
My understanding with the neck thing is it's a little bit of anxiety because you like the other person. And it to me, it always kind of seemed like you like the other person. There's a sense of anxiety of whether they like you back as much as you are feeling towards them. Would you say that that's accurate?
It's more of an excitement. I wouldn't call it anxiety. It's more of an excitement. Usually it means that whatever you're talking, like if you see her do that and you're talking about something, kind of pay attention to what you're talking about, because for whatever reason, when she's listening, that makes her feel intimate. Okay, that makes her feel like there's something intimate about that particular conversation or that particular topic that you guys are having. So, yeah, there's a lot more to body language, of course, to pay attention to, but that's, again, can be a separate podcast episode. But this is the knowledge. This is what I tell guys. I'm like, you have no idea how much dating superpower you can have if you know this stuff. Because going in blind, nobody teaches us dating skills in high school or in childhood. Our parents don't teach us dating skills, do they? So we just do trial and error and keep doing the same thing, and it's not working. Then we get frustrated. Oh, it's all women's fault, or it's all men's fault. No, you can absolutely acquire needed skills, know the techniques, know what to pay attention to, and you'll have your superpower to go in and date.
Yeah, it truly is a superpower. Truly is a superpower. So let's do one last question, and then let's share where people can find you. So last question, just on that, on the whole making the first date memorable. Is there any other like advice or tips that you have for guys on how they can actually make that memorable and get that second date?
Yes, there's one more point that I have not yet touched on. So let's imagine the conversation had gone pretty well. Let's imagine that you've done the physical contact needed. So essentially everything's going according to the plan. All is good. And the date or non-date comes to an end. This is where we girls are looking for to see how sexually disciplined you are. My dog is barking. Apologies for that. How sexually disciplined you are. What that means is that we do want to know that you are turned on by us, that you are desiring us, okay, that you're attracted to us. But we want to know how patient you can be. So a big no, whatever you do on the first get together, do not ask for sex and do not try to kiss her. Because this will, if the girl is healthy emotionally, I mean, if she has not gone through some traumatic experiences, if she's overall okay, this is what she will look for. Your sexual discipline. We all want sex. There's nothing wrong with wanting sex. That doesn't make you bad guys for wanting sex. It's absolutely normal and natural. And we want to know that you want sex with us, but we want you to show a little effort into allowing us to connect to you deeper on emotional level before we can actually get intimate with you. So instead of trying to kiss her on the lips, you give her a kiss on the cheek and you give her a tight hug and you thank her for her time. And under no circumstances you try to get back to her place or bring her to your place, okay? Unless you're interviewing somebody for friends with benefits, that's different. Then you're just upfront. Yeah, let's get together to see what we're working with. But if you're looking for a relationship, allow some time. I also suggest, if you're okay doing that, once again, to stand out of the crowd, take her hand and give her a kiss on the hand, because this is something that she doesn't experience very often. This is something that's unique. So if you are okay doing that, then I would do that, because she's going to be like, whoa, that's different. You know, nobody usually does that.
I disagree with that a little bit. Like, I hear what you're saying for sure.
Oh,
I think
that's
it's
nice.
I think it's always a good idea to go for the kiss on the first date, right? Even if she turns you away, it's just showing that, yeah, you're willing to take that masculine step into making it man woman. Now, I totally get what you're saying though. Like, maybe it is a good idea not to try to bring him home right away. Like, I think I could get down with that for sure. But I think it's always a good idea to try to go for a kiss.
How has been then your personal experience on this one?
Uh, Good. Like, I mean, some will not accept the kiss, but some will. And then the ones that do, we have a second date, and it goes well. I again, I just think it's a great thing to do for a guy too, to practice, overcoming that anxiety, fear of rejection, right? Just go for the kiss. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
still strongly suggest to wait till the second time you get together, just simply for the fact that, again, like if you're truly looking for a connection that will go long term and eventually turn into a partnership, uh, I would wait, because she may want to kiss you back, but she may also walk away thinking, okay, I know he wanted it, but he actually made an effort not to kind of tame down his urge and instead allow me the space and the time to connect. So again, this is, like I said, it's not one size fits all. However, when I do teach, this is an easier suggestion and easier recommendation. You cannot go wrong with this one, because with your situation, Joel, it can go either way.
Right.
You can actually lose, you can kill a connection if she goes, whoa, I don't do that on a first date, right? So
Yeah.
it can immediately cancel out whatever was good happening before. However, if there is a chemistry and physical and sexual chemistry, and it seems like she wants it and you want it, but you make her go home with just a kiss on the cheek and a hug, she's going to be really looking forward to the next get together.
Okay, I can see that.
Yeah, it's definitely two different schools of thought, and these are some of the things that I would really like to get back together and talk about at some point, because these are the intricacies that are very, very interesting to dive into. Because for me, like, what if she really does want to just jump your bones and then you deny her and then she thinks you're not interested anymore?
You don't deny her. That depends how you do it. And the way you do it is you go, if it happens that the girl, hey, we get horny, of course we get horny. So if she happens to want to have that, if she's in the middle of her cycle and she's ovulating and you're good looking and you guys connected, she might think, I'm just like, screw the relationship, I just want to have sex. But if you want to connect to the person in a longer run, then you tell her, listen, I really want this, but I really truly want us to connect on a deeper level. This is magic words that any girl, when she hears from you, she's not really going to feel rejected. She's going to feel like, okay, let's get to the second date faster, see what's it all this about, right? So it will create anticipation, but it will be a positive one, okay? Because again, this is kind of a proof, bulletproof from you cannot go wrong, foolproof. But Joel, if you are really good at reading body language and like really directly communicating, it may work. It's just something that I would not, as a coach, I would not suggest to somebody to do it in being afraid that you don't know how the girl is going to react. So it's better to stay on the safe side.
Oh, okay. I like that. You're right. You're right, because it does take a more advanced level of understanding of that body language and everything else for it to work. And because you risk a lot more if you don't have that understanding. So I'm right there with you on that.
And I can tell you guys, from being a woman myself and coaching women as well from time to time, one of the biggest complaints the girls do have is that he pushed for sex or he pushed for kiss on the first date. And this is the insight that I'm sharing with you. So beware of that. And even if I coached women, it's like, yeah, I was attracted to him up until the point when he actually tried to kiss me.
It's calibration. It's understanding like when it actually makes sense, and if it's uncalibrated, there's nothing that can kill a connection quicker than an uncalibrated push for something like that.
Yes, exactly.
One thing I was thinking about too is like where culture plays into role with this, because when I was in Poland, there was a pretty strict 3-date rule, and versus in America, I find that can be quite the opposite. So what are your thoughts? And I mean, you're Ukrainian, so you have lived in that.
3 dates before any kind of physical touch.
Before sex.
3 days before sex, even.
Yeah.
Oh, that's precise. I don't have a number of dates. Just like Alex mentioned, you kind of have to truly be knowledgeable about how women function, and you have to pay attention to how she's responding to you. Because there's a whole lot of things that we haven't even touched on. Like, we all have different intimacy needs. We all have a different adult attachment style. Some are avoidant, some are anxious, some are secure. So all those things play a big role in how a woman responds to your physical advances. One may be welcoming, and the other may be, oh, no, he's pushy, cannot do that. And it will kill the connection completely. So 3 days, let's say they go absolutely great, and you've talked and you've figured out that your core values align and it just flows and just great, then yeah, by all means, go for sex after 3 dates. Okay. But I don't have actually specific number of dates. I suggest at least a couple dates. You wait.
Okay.
And then you decide. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all adults. But again, from the female perspective of you, yes, we do want sex. Yes, we do want physical touch. There's nothing wrong with that. So do you. But you have to remember, we're always evaluating you in a sense of, is he going to be there for me? Or is he just going to get sex and then lose interest? And this is the complaint that I hear very quickly.
I like this idea. Like, and this is kind of what I've been learning on this journey is when you talk to different people that are further along in the journey, you kind of get the idea that it is about calibration, like you guys have been saying. It's about being able to learn how to read the other person. And yeah, it's definitely like when you're first starting out, I think it's important to have some guidelines to follow. So you just kind of, have a direction. You're not just kind of floundering. But yeah, when I was hanging out with guys that were more experienced in dating than I was by a long shot, they were definitely more like about energy. Like, okay, am I connecting with this person versus am I following, rule 3 at 7:55 p.m. Now it's time to execute. And so, yeah, it's opening my mind too. I'm like, you just got to get out there and you got to get reps so you can learn this skill.
Absolutely. Yeah, you have a blueprint and then you apply it. We're human beings, we're not robots. It would be very easy if there was a formula, 1, 2, 3, and then you just apply the steps. No,
It would.
you do have the knowledge, but then you have to attune to every single woman differently. So, and this is what I teach when I coach. There's a certain thing as attunement to the woman's needs, wants, desires, and hopes. And it's absolutely, women are not that complicated. I just wrote a blog post on that. Women are actually not that complicated as the guys think, if you actually put just time and effort into understanding how we function and how we operate.
Right. Great points. Great points. Well, let's go ahead and wrap this up here. This was absolutely a fantastic conversation. Thank you so much, Irena. I would love to do something like this again. I'm going to go ahead and put your information out here to your website. I did notice that, yeah, there it is. So if you guys want to find her and connect with her, it's the best way to do so right down there. I did notice that the group coaching call link seemed to be a little bit off. It looks like the registration's full. Do you still have
There's
opportunities?
a wait list. You just put your name, yes, because the last group was full, but the next one will start. I think will start mid or end of October. So you just have to get on a wait list. That's it, or just send me an email and express the desire. And for those that come, tell them. So if you say that you're coming from Man of Now, I will discount the price so you can get a little bit of a discount on getting into the group. And it's a small group. It's anywhere between 3 and 10 people. And you get a lot of insights from a female coach, and you get a lot of information that will absolutely give you that dating superpower to go into the world and make the connections and hopefully meet the one sooner or later.
I love that. That's what's like so cool about. I know there's a lot of people, at least in the dating space, like men's dating coaches that like rag on women, but I think it's good to at least have the female perspective, because I think a lot of times it does get lost, because they always make the argument, well, how can she teach me how to date women if she's never dated women? Well, how can I, as a man, tell you how a woman feels if I'm not a woman? It's the same argument back and forth, and I think it's great. It's great what you're doing. I really love everything that I've seen, and I'm so happy to have had you on. Is there anything else you wanna plug to the audience?
I mean, not really. I do hope that whoever needs a little assistance, it's just I want to say that it's a skill that's absolutely attainable. Like, you can find love, you can absolutely tackle your limiting beliefs. That because for every guy who's sitting there and thinking, oh, I did not get lucky, or I'm not tall enough, or I don't have the 6-figure income, or whatever else is limiting belief that you have, I can help you deconstruct and dissolve those beliefs and get your mindset in the right place. And once you have that competence to go in, and you have step by step how to deal with rejection, how to approach, how to start conversation, what questions to ask, how to read the body language, with all that knowledge, you can be truly unstoppable. And it will just be the matter of time. So it's not going to be the matter of if, it's simply going to be the matter of when you're going to meet your right person. And what right now it's September. If you get hold of me, if you get in contact with me soon enough, you might be by Christmas, you might be introducing your +1 at the work party, or maybe even bringing her around for a family gathering, so they can finally stop asking you why you're single. But take charge. It's admirable and honorable when a guy actually learns skills, Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody's born with dating skills. Everybody can have some improvement. It's very rarely when there's a person just naturally equipped to do that. Most of us have actually to learn this. I'm sure you guys can attest to that. I had to learn, and it's admirable when somebody takes the lead and the charge in actually bettering themselves to become a better version of themselves, so they can meet somebody and create a great life together.
Absolutely, beautifully put.
Yeah, Tommy, you're not a loser anymore. Everyone's gonna applaud you. So learn the skills for sure. That's a great message.
So Joel, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead and plug your
Yeah.
stuff. We'll plug my stuff, and we'll wrap it up.
Awesome. So yeah, guys, Sobriety University, come on over. I help men and women quit addiction to just about anything, really. People, drugs, alcohol, sugar, whatever your vice is. I've probably been through it, and I know how to get through it. And it's just like Irena said, it's simple. It's not easy, but it's simple. And if you can learn those skills to get yourself in the right mindset, really start to see the big vision for your life, and then be honest as to where, okay, is this substance that I'm using or behavior contributing to that goal and vision? And I think what I found with coaching is that once people start to realize, like, okay, I got more to my life to live than just picking up a bong every day, then they start to have results. So it's really kind of figuring that out for yourself. And speaking of, we got the balloons guy. Great game. I used to play that all the time instead of studying. And second day off weed. So congratulations, man. That's absolutely fantastic. It's your new life is beginning. And we have Kata 15 here. So great job to you as well. The first 2 weeks to a month is probably the hardest. And then you get some relief, and you get to start to live your new life. So fantastic, guys. Congratulations. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. And then once again, Hudson and I will be doing some codependency content. So come on over to the channel and be tuned in, because we're going to be diving into some of that deep emotional relationship stuff that holds people back. So Huds, on to you, my friend.
Absolutely. So as always, you can follow me down below, Instagram at the Hudsman, if you want to reach out for dating coaching, or if you even just have simple questions that maybe I could help with. More than happy to do so. As for the Men of Now channel, we'll be back doing this stuff again next week. I feel like there was something else I was going to mention, and now I'm forgetting it. I know we've got Sobriety University, like the actual membership coming up, right?
Yeah.
So that's something to keep your eyes open for, guys. And if you guys enjoy this type of different style of content, bringing on different people like this, definitely let us know down below, because that helps us. We're only here to bring the information to you. We want to help you. So if you resonate with certain things, definitely let us know. And if you have any show topics or maybe people you would like for us to bring on, definitely let us know. And just as always, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, spread this message to whoever you can, any of your friends, anybody that you think could maybe benefit from it. And just thank you again. We are nothing without you. So really appreciate it. And thank you again, Irena. This was a fantastic show.
It's been a pleasure, guys. Thank you so much for having me. It's been really great. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Welcome.
All right. Till next time, guys. Peace out.
Peace.